Okay, so now we are in part 3, and as I told you in the previous video, we'll be looking at how to insert animations and transitions into this presentation. Okay, so first I just wanted to watch this entire presentation. Okay, this is the presentation that I had already created and it was in your classroom. Okay, so I just wanted to watch this presentation and just see how it works. We will be trying out the same thing in the presentation that we are creating on our own. Okay, so just watch this presentation. So I started it, I pressed F5. So you see, this is how the first slide appears, changes like this, then one by one each piece of content appears. So now for your information, I'm not pressing any keys, the slides are changing on their own. Okay, each of these animations are happening on their own. Okay, so this is what we call an animation. When something happens to one particular object inside the slide, we call it an animation. Okay, now this is what you call this is a transition. Okay, when the entire slide appears, we call it a transition. Okay, so this is how the presentation is running. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to put transitions and animations to your presentation. Okay, so this is what you call a slide. Okay, defining on how your slide appears, how your entire slide appears is what we call transition. Defining how each of these objects appear is what you call animation. Okay, so first we put a transition, and then for each of these objects you can put an animation. But remember, do not put too many things into your presentation because it can be too fancy and people are going to be distracted from your information. Instead of focusing on the content that you have, people are going to be focusing on, animations and transitions and all that. So try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my first slide and I'm going to come to something which we call transitions. Okay, so over here Microsoft PowerPoint has given me a huge variety of various transitions that I can apply to my slide. So I'm going to go for something very simple. I'm going to go for something which we call random bars. So random bars means this is how this particular slide is going to appear. Okay, so once you select random bars, you're given so many options on the right hand side, which is, do you want a sound to appear with the transition? Okay, so I have said I don't want any sound. The next question is, how long do you want the transition to go on for? So right now by default it says 1 second. Okay, so if you increase the time, you will see that the transition becomes very, very slow. Okay, you see it's taking a long time because this transition has to go on for 4.25 seconds. Okay, which is quite long. I'm going to bring it back to 1 second. Okay, so this is the duration of my transition. Then there is something which we call advanced slide. Advanced slide means how do you want the slide to move on? Okay, how do you want it to go on to the next slide? That's what we call advanced slide. How is the slide going to move on? Okay, so right now it is on mouse click. On mouse click means the user will decide when the slide should change. Okay, so this option is good when there is no fixed time for the slide to change. So for example, if there is somebody explaining this topic, it is always better to keep it on mouse click. Let the presenter change it when the time is correct. But if this presentation is something to be just running automatically, then you disable mouse click and you say automatically after, and you define the amount of time that this slide should change after how many seconds. Okay, so I think approximately 3 seconds is enough for people to read this and read this. Okay, so let's do a simple trial run and see. We have this particular button over here. Okay, let's just run it and see. Okay, so I think that's enough. 3 seconds seems to be enough. Okay, I think 3 seconds is a bit too much. Let's make it 2 seconds. Okay, this particular slide will be there for 2 seconds. Thereafter, it's going to change. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selecting all these slides. I'm going to press the Shift key and select all of them. Okay, I press the Shift key and selected all of them. I'm going to put one transition for all these slides. Okay, I'm going to go for something like maybe fracture. Okay, something like that. Okay, so that's the transition. And I'm also going to say that all these slides are going to change automatically after, let's say for example, 6 seconds. After 6 seconds, these slides are all going to change automatically. Okay, so if you run the presentation, you would notice. Okay, so if you give it 6 seconds, next slide appears. Okay, so I have kept a 6 second gap for each of these slides. Okay, Now what we are going to learn is, we are going to learn something which we call animations. Okay, so what I want is, I want the slide to appear, then I want each of these text to appear one by one. So that is what we call animation. So I come into animations, and under animation it will be better if you can take the animation pane so that you can see all the animations you do. So you have various animations that you can use: entrance, emphasis, exit, motion parts. You have so many options when it comes to animations, but let me remind you again, keep it as simple as possible. Okay, you don't want people to get distracted with how your information is moving around. You want people to understand your information. So try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm going to go with something very simple. I'm just going to go with shape. Okay, so this is how the word circle is going to appear. Okay, then do remember the options for circle is what? It says on click. It means the user has to click, then this particular animation is going to play. So as I told you, I want this entire presentation to run automatically. So I'm going to say after previous. So after previous means once this slide loads, then this word circle is going to appear. Okay. Then there is something called duration. Duration means how long do you want this particular animation to go on for. So right now it is 2 seconds. That's fine. Okay. So let's just play it and see. 2 seconds is a bit slow. Let's reduce it to 1.25 and let's play and see. That's a bit better. Okay. And then also there is something called a delay. Delay means play the animation after a certain number of seconds. So it means, now I have said after previous, right? So just before this animation takes place, the slide is going to load, isn't it? So you can, what you can do is you can keep a small delay. After the slide loads, I want there to be a 1 second delay. Then I want the word circles to appear. Okay. If you look right now, I'm going to press Shift F5. Look here. As soon as the slide finishes, immediately the word circles is coming. Okay. So if you want, after the slide appears, if you want there to be a small delay, okay, you can increase this time. Okay, you can make it, for example, 1 second. So now let me show you what happens. Slide transition happens. After 1 second, the word circles will appear. Okay. I prefer that. Okay, it's up to you. Okay. Then I'm going to apply animation for the word squares as well. I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to be a shape, and it's going to be after previous. After previous means after the word circles, the word squares is going to come, and I'm going to reduce the time to 1.25 seconds, and I'm also going to keep a 1 second delay. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same for triangles as well. It's going to be a shape. The same for right triangle also. The same for diamond as well. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to be selecting all 3 of these words, and I'm going to say all of them are going to happen after the previous. So you can see the alignment is happening over here, and each of them are going to be only 1.25 seconds in length, and each of them is going to have a 1 second delay before they appear. Okay. So let's press Shift F5 and see how it works out. Transition happens. After 1 second, circles appear. After 1 second, squares. After 1 second, triangles. Okay. So you see, after every second, the animation is taking place. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to click on the object circle. Okay. And I'm going to, oh, I see what has happened over here is the animation is already there because I simply copied and pasted this object from here to here. Okay. So the animation is already there in place. But let me just quickly explain what has happened over here is, okay, it's the animation is shape. It's happening after previous. After previous means after this slide appears, then this animation is going to appear. Duration is going to be 2 seconds, and there is going to be a delay of 1 second, which means once the slide appears, there is going to be a 1 second delay. Then this particular shape is going to appear. Let's just play it. Shift F5. So you see, 1 second delay, then the circle animation takes place. Okay. Then automatically the next slide is going to appear. 1 second delay, and the square is going to appear. Okay, because I have already, as I told you, since I copied the shape from here into here, the animations have already been applied to them. Okay, so you can see the same animation has been copied and pasted over here. Okay, so I'm sure you guys will be having a lot of questions about animation and what is duration and what is delay and all that. Please feel free to message me personally or drop a comment below, okay, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Okay, in our next video we'll be looking at hyperlinks and how to print presentations.